Maria Jensen had always been known as the calm one. A soft-spoken elementary school teacher, mother of two, the kind of woman who remembered birthdays and baked cookies for the neighbors. But on the night of March 12th, calm was the last thing she felt. Because that night, Maria wasn't going home to make dinner. She was going home to confront her husband. For weeks, something inside her had been screaming that Daniel was lying. It started with small things: late-night phone calls, hidden receipts, a second phone she found buried beneath old paint cans in the garage. At first, she convinced herself it was another woman. Painful, yes. But forgivable. Fixable, maybe. Until her best friend, Lily, sent her a photo that shattered everything. Daniel wasn't just cheating. He was at a motel, with a woman Maria didn't recognize, and in his hand was an envelope full of cash. Maria didn't cry. She didn't scream. She simply said, "I need to talk to him tonight." At 7:15 p.m., Maria's silver sedan pulled into their driveway. The porch light was on. Through the kitchen window, she saw Daniel pacing, phone in hand, wearing that same perfect, practiced smile he always wore when he lied. He greeted her with a calmness that only made her more uneasy. "Hey," he said softly. "You're home early." Maria didn't answer. She set a folder on the table. Inside, printed bank statements, fake invoices, and emails tied to offshore accounts. "Where did you get this?" Daniel's voice was sharp, his eyes narrowing. "Doesn't matter," Maria replied. "I know everything." For a long, unbearable moment, neither spoke. The only sound was the ticking clock above the stove. Finally, Daniel smiled, the kind of smile that didn't reach his eyes. "You shouldn't have seen this." Maria felt her stomach twist. "You're going to explain it to the police." Daniel took a slow step forward. "Maria, you don't understand who you're dealing with." "What does that mean?" she asked, voice trembling. "If you go to them," he whispered, "they'll kill us both." She could see it now, the fear behind his anger. Not just guilt. He wasn't working alone. "Then we'll leave," Maria said. "We'll take the kids and go somewhere safe." "No one leaves," he snapped. His voice cracked through the air like a whip. He slammed his fist on the counter, the sound echoing across the kitchen. Maria flinched. Then she did something she'd never done before, she pulled out her phone and pressed record. "If anything happens to me," she said firmly, "this video is proof." Daniel's eyes darkened. "Turn it off, Maria. I'm done protecting you." A wine glass tipped from the counter and shattered on the floor. Maria's hand was bleeding, but she didn't care. She tried to move past him, reaching for the door, but Daniel grabbed her wrist. "Let me go," she screamed. The phone slipped from her hand, skidding under the table. What happened next was chaos. Their voices rose. A struggle. Then a loud, terrible bang. The recording cut to silence. The next morning, Daniel reported Maria missing. He told police she'd stormed out after an argument. He even cried during interviews, pleading for her safe return. But detectives noticed something strange. Security cameras in the neighborhood showed Maria's car parked in the driveway all night. It never left. They searched the Jensen home. No blood. No struggle. Everything was too clean. Too perfect. Then one officer checked the kitchen sink. Inside the drain, they found a torn, damp receipt, one that hadn't been destroyed completely. It was from a gas station 2 towns away. Time stamped at 3:12 a.m. Paid for with Daniel Jensen's credit card. Detectives followed the lead. Surveillance footage from that gas station showed Daniel's car. The trunk was open. Inside, something long and wrapped in a blanket. But when they found that same car 3 days later, the trunk was empty. Daniel stuck to his story. "She left me," he said. "She was angry. He almost sounded believable, until an email arrived at the police department. The sender's name, Maria Jensen. The subject line read, "Tell the truth, Daniel." Attached was a single video file. Detectives played it on a laptop in the evidence room. Maria's face appeared, lit only by a kitchen light. Her eyes were red, her voice shaking. "If you're watching this," she whispered, "it means Daniel lied. I found the money. I found the names. They're coming for him, and for me. I've hidden something that proves it all." Before she could finish, the screen glitched, freezing mid-frame. Detectives leaned in. Behind Maria, in the faint reflection of the window, stood a man. Tall. Still. Unmoving. It wasn't Daniel. "Wait," one of the detectives said, pausing the video. "Who the hell is that?" The figure's face was blurred by the glare of the light, just an outline. A shadow. Watching her from behind. The room fell silent. If Daniel wasn't the one standing behind Maria that night, then who was? Was it someone she discovered in his files? One of the people he was laundering money for? Or someone else entirely, someone closer than anyone imagined? Detectives didn't know it yet. But that single frame, that ghostly figure in the reflection, would unravel everything. Because when they reopened the Jensen house to search for hidden evidence, they found something wedged behind the baseboard of the kitchen counter. A small, black USB drive. Inside it was the one file Maria never had time to send. And what was on that drive would not only expose the man in the reflection, but reveal that Maria's disappearance was never meant to be permanent. The USB drive was small, black, unmarked, and dusty from years hidden behind the kitchen baseboard. It looked ordinary, almost forgettable. But when Detective Laura Myers inserted it into her laptop, the files inside told a story that would unravel everything. There were photos, screenshots, and audio recordings. Each file was carefully labeled, organized by date and name. Maria Jensen had been gathering evidence for months. She hadn't just stumbled onto her husband's secret, she had documented every detail of it. Bank statements. Offshore accounts. Conversations between Daniel Jensen and people whose names matched known criminal financiers. But what caught Lara's attention most was a folder titled, "Do Not Open Unless I'm Gone." Her hand trembled as she clicked. Inside were recordings, Maria's voice, shaky but determined. In one clip, she spoke directly to the camera. "They're watching me," she whispered. "I think Daniel's afraid of them, but he won't tell me who they are. There's someone else involved. Someone close." Then came another voice. A man's. Deep. Calm. Too familiar. "Maria, you shouldn't have gone through his things." The clip ended abruptly. Silence filled the room. Laura froze. She knew that voice. It was her partner, Detective Henry Cole. Shock turned to dread as she replayed the file. It was unmistakable. Cole had been the lead investigator on Maria's case, the man supposedly chasing justice for her. But the evidence suggested something much darker. Laura immediately alerted Internal Affairs. Within hours, a secret investigation began. Phone records. Emails. Surveillance logs. And what they uncovered confirmed the impossible. At 9:42 p.m., the night Maria disappeared, Cole's unmarked sedan had been captured on neighborhood surveillance turning onto the Jensen Street. He remained there for 17 minutes. Later that night, at 3:18 a.m., the same vehicle was spotted again, driving away from the area, just minutes after Daniel's gas station transaction. It was enough for a warrant. When officers searched Cole's apartment, they found Maria's missing phone. The one she'd used to record her confrontation. In her camera roll were 3 short clips, filmed in the kitchen that night. They weren't long, each under 10 seconds, but together, they painted the final moments of her life. The first video showed Maria positioning her phone carefully, as if setting up a secret recording. The second captured Daniel pacing angrily, the folder of documents on the table between them. And the third, blurry but chilling, showed Maria's reflection in the window. Behind her stood a tall figure, motionless, holding a gun. It wasn't Daniel. It was Henry Cole. Everything made sense now. Cole and Daniel had known each other long before Maria discovered the truth. Daniel's financial consulting business was a cover for laundering money for organized crime groups. Cole, the trusted detective, was their insurance policy, paid to bury investigations, erase evidence, and keep the system clean on paper. When Maria found the documents and threatened to go to the police, Daniel panicked. He called Cole for help. Cole promised to handle it. According to Daniel's later testimony, Maria's confrontation was never meant to turn violent. He claimed Cole instructed him to calm her down, to make her understand the danger she was in if she exposed them. But when Maria started recording, Cole lost control. He entered through the back door as Daniel argued with her. Maria didn't notice until she saw his reflection in the glass. The gunshot that followed silenced her forever. For months, Cole and Daniel covered it up. They drove out before dawn, stopping at an unfinished construction site 20 miles away. There, beneath the skeleton of a future building, they buried Maria's body under freshly poured concrete. Cole erased her phone's tracking data and fabricated the missing person report himself. By the time the police began their investigation, all evidence pointed to a woman who had simply walked away from her marriage. But Maria hadn't vanished. She'd been silenced. When confronted with the footage and files, Daniel broke down first. He confessed everything, how Cole had orchestrated the cover-up, how he'd been too afraid to refuse. Cole, when arrested, didn't deny his involvement. He only said, in that same cold voice captured on the audio file, she shouldn't have gone through his things. Daniel was sentenced to 25 years for his role in the cover-up. Henry Cole was convicted of first-degree murder and sentenced to life without parole. The case sent shockwaves through the city. A decorated officer and a respected financial consultant, partners in crime, bound by greed and fear, had destroyed an innocent woman to protect their secrets. But even after the verdict, one question remained. During the final review of Maria's USB files, investigators found a draft email she had written but never sent. It was time-stamped just hours before her death. If something happens to me, look deeper. It's not just Daniel. Someone in law enforcement is protecting them. This goes higher than we think. The message ended mid-sentence, as though she'd been interrupted while typing. To this day, the full scope of the network Maria uncovered remains sealed in federal archives. Some believe Cole was just one of many corrupt officers tied to the same organization. Others whisper that there are still people out there who made sure Maria's truth never reached the public. Maria Jensen never made it to the police station. She never got to hand over her evidence or tell her story in her own words. But the files she left behind, the USB drive, the recordings, and that haunting video, brought down a chain of corruption that stretched far beyond her home. Her courage, her instincts, her refusal to stay silent, exposed what two powerful men tried so desperately to hide. And in the end, even though she lost her, Maria Jensen didn't live to see justice. But her courage uncovered a truth darker than anyone imagined. A husband's betrayal. A detective's secret. And a cover-up that reached deeper than one family. But if Maria was right, if her last message was real, then someone else out there still knows what really happened that night. Cut to, a blurred shadow watching through rain-soaked glass. Because sometimes, the story doesn't end with the arrest. Sometimes, it's only the beginning. If you want to know what happens when truth refuses to stay buried, hit like, drop a comment, and subscribe for more real-life stories, where every secret eventually surfaces.